Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man!
All right! Episode 243 of Shirt Show! We're wrapping up ISS and more with Jordan from Days Printing in Oregon. Let's go!
Hi.
Hey there, beautiful. Do you just have like a collection of gray crew necks?
No.
No, that's the only one you own?
Actually, I don't own this.
Did you just go pull it out of stock?
I did.
Good man. Because you were shirtless? Because you're so fucking sweaty and jacked all day?
Yeah.
That's the answer?
That's the answer. And it's 60 degrees out. And so I was like, I'm not wearing a shirt today. And then I got here and I'm like, well, I probably should put one on. So here it is. Brand new.
I like it. Nice.
Really fuzzy on when it's new.
I bought basically the hoodie I'm wearing right now. My favorite Target brand. And I didn't even wear it yet. I just took it right out of the package, packed it in my suitcase, and took it to Long Beach. And I wore it that first day. Oh, look at that. Thumbs up. I wore it the first day that we had to record stuff with M&R. And I was like, oh, I'm hot. I'm going to take this hoodie off. And I had a black t-shirt on underneath. And it was just covered in like this heather gray fuzz, like annihilated. And I didn't really think much of it. I brushed it off, whatever. But then we went to that tiki bar that night, and there was like black lights everywhere, and I just looked like I was covered in just like a dandruff or something gross. So,
Tell me a story, Dylan.
I don't have any stories. I have a lot of stories from my trip. I'm back now.
Yeah. Oh, really? You're okay.
I'm here. Yeah. Getting back into the swing of things, doing emails, and it feels good, honestly. Like you get that week away and now you're back, and it's like, all right, cool. I get to fucking get back into my routine, and it feels nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was going to show you. So I took a couple of photos flying home, and this one is epic. This is coming into St. Louis. I don't know if you can see it on there.
A little nighttime shot.
And then I got a sunset shot.
I like those. You had a nice seat.
Oh, yeah. My seat was right behind. In front of me was a emotional support dog, and it passed gas the entire time. Like here's what I was like. We were flying, and it was like this. And I look over to my side, and the dude over there was just like, bro.
Dog farts are the worst.
It was like a German Shepherd or something the whole time. I was like, couldn't breathe. I was going to ask the oxygen mask to come down. Like, we need help. This isn't good.
That sucks so bad.
So bad. I don't know what they fed it. Something wrong.
Yeah, we got whatever flight we could get out of coming home, and we ended up getting Comfort Plus, which was nice, and then we got upgrades to first class. But I haven't been on a plane like that in a while, where it had coach, Comfort Plus, first class, and then it had the whole section ahead of it that was like the big lay down seats. Where you get like blankets and shit.
Nice.
Didn't get one of those. Did get first class though, so it was nice. Had a nice.
They give you a dinner?
Comfy ride back. Yeah, but I turned it down. It was actually breakfast because it was so early in the morning. But so yeah, my Saturday was wonky because my daughter had a play Saturday night, so I wanted to make it home for that. So we left the Airbnb at 3 a.m. Got to LAX for a flight at 6. Flew from LAX to New York City, so it was basically across the country, and then New York City to Syracuse, and then drove an hour from Syracuse to home, and basically went right to my daughter's play.
That's a lot.
So it wasn't a lot to make it there for that play, but it was worth it because it was awesome, and see the look on her face and see her do the whole thing. It was pretty sweet. Shit, you gotta do when you're a dad, man.
You're a good dad. I'm proud of you. I flew out a day later, and that's when the rains came. And so I saw the first rains in 8 months in in LA, which is much needed because how dry it is and the fires and everything. But now I think it's turned into landslides or something, which is awful.
They can't catch a break.
Or mudslides. But I had mine was delayed because they're not used to rain there, So like I flew out of Long Beach and there's no covered anything. And so you kind of walk out in the rain, to the plane, to the stairs.
Yeah, because you get out of the plane down the stairs. There's no like jet bridge or anything.
No, but the stairs did have a cover, but then you walk across like a giant parking lot, without an umbrella. It was fine. I didn't care. It's just water.
Got a little wet.
Yeah. But everybody else kind of slowed down, So
you get on a plane soaking wet, and then you just have to soak up dog farts for 3 hours?
Basically. But hey, it was a fast. It is what it is. I'm not complaining. I got home safely.
Okay, good.
Could have been worse, right? Yeah. It all starts with the screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF.
Rank.com.
Or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
And if you didn't know this, Frank ships to Canada. In fact, somebody said that he didn't, and he got pretty upset.
He was very concerned.
He ships to Canada. So if you're in Canada,
he'll make it. If you want screens, he'll make it happen.
Yeah, he'll make it happen. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more fun. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way, baby.
Graphics is the source for production-ready digital art and remote art staffing. We use them every single day. They can help any size shop, from big to small to extra big to triple extra big to medium.
All
Learn
of
more.
the sizes.
Graphicsource.com or 1-900.
Hotstuff.com.
Yeah.
SNS has been our go-to apparel source since day one. Discover an extensive range of apparel that blends innovative design and unbeatable comfort. Their customer service and quality control are the best out there. Check them out at ssactivewear.com. If you haven't tried the American Apparel 1301 garment dyed shirt yet, you are missing out. This heavyweight cotton shirt has the rough and tumble vibe of your favorite concert tee with a wide ribbed collar and the vintage faded look. This shirt will definitely be in your weekly wardrobe rotation. Ask your rep for some for your showroom today. Those are what all of the Shirt Show Happy Hour shirts were printed on. They were a joy to print on. They were wonderful. For over 90 years, Stahls has been the leading choice among apparel decorators for their heat transfer materials, heat press equipment, and custom transfer services. Not only do they offer some of the best products, but they are always looking to innovate and educate in our industry on all things heat press. Head over to stahls.com to order your transfers and check them out on YouTube to get caught up and taught a thing or two.
Who do we have on the show today?
Jordan Green of Days Printing. Me and Christina did an episode where we did a follow-up after Prowsers, and old Jordy boy here,
that's me,
helped us out. So he's like, hey, let's fucking do this again. I like this mic stand you got.
You like that?
Yeah, that's
going
pretty
for
good.
Maximum brand recognition here.
See that?
So
yeah, the Andy style clip where you're plugging yourself at the same time.
Heck yeah.
It's on an
Sweet.
ink knife, right?
Oh yeah. My little scoop cooper.
Yeah, for those who can't see, he's got a pretty neat rig here.
Mm-hmm. And that
It's taped onto the tripod too. I need to throw that together for me. Oh yeah. I almost trimmed it up, but I was like, again, you can't recognize me without it, so I gotta leave it as
When was the last time you didn't have it?
Oh, the last time I shaved my mustache. Years ago. I've always had some form of mustache beard combo. I don't think I've shaved the mustache in at least 5 years.
Really?
I think the last time it was an accident. Honestly, I was like trimming like underneath my nose, and I like got too much. And I was like,
too far.
well, I guess I'm taking the whole thing off.
Just do half.
Yeah, just take the middle out and just leave the sides a little bit.
Or get that creepy mustache that some dudes do where it's just a line on the upper lip.
just like, but like really long hairs,
Super
just like
thin,
the
long.
creepiest look possible.
Have you guys seen there's an Instagram reel about, and there's this guy and he has a bowl cut and he's giving himself another, freshening up the bowl cut with just scissors, and he just goes right across. You ever see it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen
He's like
that.
a surfer.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Or a surfer or a skater or something. And he just like doesn't even care. He just cuts it.
Just
I love the idea. That was Nina. Nina buzzed her hair. I mean, same thing. She was like, she came into the bedroom one night and was like, I want to buzz my head. And I was like, all right. She just went to town. She was like, I hate my hair. I'm taking it all off. And she rocked it. It was a good look.
Just G.I. Jane.
Oh, hardcore. Yeah. She looks like she'd just gotten out of boot camp. We'll sweaty every day.
We're just going to talk about hair for a while.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Speaking of hair, tell us about your Long Beach experience. Was this your first one or second one?
Second one. I'm just laughing now. I don't see how hair ties it in, but I love it.
Beautiful segue.
Hair
Yeah.
ties. There you go.
Speaking of hair, how's Long Beach? You know, land of the good hair.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that was our second time. We went last year was our first one. And it was funny the difference between last year versus this year, because last year we were still so new in the industry and hadn't like really honed in like any form of niche, didn't have quite the connections. The only connection we really had was Connor Disney with Disney screen printing. And he
Great dude. Yeah.
yeah, he's awesome. He was rad. Because he was helping us out when I was first thinking about switching over to Printavo. And I was like, I'd put on my story. I was like, has anybody used Printavo? And can someone talk me through, is this a good idea or not? It seems expensive. And we talked on the phone for like 3 hours about like if it's a good idea. And he was like, yeah, it was when he was like, you got to go to Long Beach. Like, you got to figure it out. And I'm like, all right, cool. So, and he was like, you got to go to the shirt show after party, like all that. So went down, and he's who introduced me to like, Rodney at DLH and Elisa and Nathan from Relentless and Atonal, and kind of like built that community there. And, yeah, it just kind of took off from there. And I feel like over the last year, like pushing on social media and making more connections this year around, it was like I was able to like, we just chatted with everybody. There were people flagging us down to chat with us, people wanting to shoot a video, us wanting to shoot videos with people, bumping into like social media friends in person for the first time. Yeah, it was great. I'm looking forward to whatever next year is going to look like. It's gonna be probably even crazier. But
Did you do that first year thing where you go to like every seminar? And you're like,
oh yeah. We paid for like we paid for some sort of like the super pass, and we got like a different badge and everything. And, which was terrible because every like vendor there was like, oh, they spent money to come here, so I'm going to like go flag them down constantly. So we went to like multiple classes every day, and, it was rad, but this year we didn't. Yeah. And oh my God, it took me probably 6 months to like clear out my inbox of just like spam things that I've somehow got subscribed to. And, yeah, so this year we didn't do any classes. I was like, we're just going to go film videos, catch up with people, network. I think it's a bit more valuable to us than there's great value in the classes for sure. But I was like, let's see what it's like without them this year. And it was free. I didn't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think for me and Andy too, it's one of those things like we've gone to a million shows, and not just Long Beach, but like, you know, Atlantic City and Fort Worth and fucking, I don't know, all over the place things, where now it's more of like, let's take the whole week and go do something before or after, where we're already out there. Let's just take vacation, whatever. So like, me and Christina flew out to see Glenn and Ashley at Windmill City on Monday in Palm Springs. So we got to like literally have like 3 chill days where it was just like, okay, cool. We're in the desert. We're going to take in the sights. We went and saw Joshua Tree, and we just like, you know, got some great places to eat and chilled and relaxed. And then on the drive out, got to go to the Pee Wee Herman dinosaurs, which was fucking awesome. Like, I was so looking forward to that. I didn't even know they were out there. And Glenn was like, oh, you can see the dinosaurs on the way back. I was like, what dinosaurs? And then he's like, oh, you know, the big ones you can like get up in. I was like, oh my God, the Pee Wee Herman dinosaurs. So that was sweet. And then we got to go to this place called Hadley's and got like, you know, all these awesome snacks and whatever else. But yeah, then you get into, you know, you go from that to Long Beach mode where it's like, oh, dude, I have to be on now. Like, I just went from 3 days of relaxing to 3 days of just like being on and talking for 3 days straight. That
was us too, because it was my birthday week. So my birthday was on Wednesday. So So we just kind of turned it into like a birthday trip, which kind of what we did the first year too. It's probably just, I mean, it's always going to be that week. So it's probably just the thing we do. But so we went all the way down to San Diego first, get to catch up with my friend, hang out on the beach and stuff like that. And then came back up into like downtown LA area, went shopping at all the like just cool stores that you don't get to see everywhere, and hit the nice coffee shops and eat good food, and probably spend way too much money on food. We ate out like probably 3 to 4 times a day. Like it was, it was like, while we're here.
That's most of the budget generally.
Yeah. Oh, the entire budget was food and maybe gas, but even gas, I don't think we spent near as much as we did on food.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you is, I don't know, like I'm not as much into the content stuff for like socials as I used to be, but like I've noticed a lot of people more doing interview style stuff for their own socials at like booths, where it's like you go to SNS and you're like, oh, tell us about the new products, and you go to this place and you're like, tell us about this product. Like, were you doing that too? Because I saw like you were in a couple different ones. But I feel like you were in other people's that I saw, like the street warehouse guy.
So we had people interviewing us, and we also interviewed a few people, because we went down with like not the intention to make interview style content, but I had like DJI asked us, I was talking with Nathan, the video we made for Atonal was terrible, so we might not even post that one. It's before I went and grabbed mics. I was like, we didn't bring mics. We were like, we'll just shoot some like B-roll stuff and do like voiceover stuff at the end. And then I was like, no, we've got to like chat with you, because I had people asking about this specifically. They were like, oh, do you have your spatula with your mic? And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. So that night I was like, we're going to Best Buy, we're gonna grab a mic right now. So, and then AS Color gave us a spatula, and originally Ryanet gave us one too for a second, but then AS Color was like, no, you gotta have a branded one. So we ran around with that one. But so we didn't really go with the intent to make that style content, but once we started talking with people, and it felt like a good kind of just use of time, as well as like a good way to just get a whole bunch of content all at once, so you don't kind of low pressure. And I think it was worth it. Like next year we'll go in with a bit more of a plan for sure, because it was a bit thrown together. Like next time I want to ask questions that aren't even about the show, just like actually more engaging questions, not just like, what do you have? What did you bring? I was like, immediately got there, I was like a deer in headlights. I was like, I don't know what to ask people. Like, but
and I mean, that's kind of what I want to talk to you about too, is just kind of like this show specifically. Me and Andy were doing a lot of stuff in the M&R booth. Like we signed on to helping them with doing some interviews, because it was their 40th anniversary and they wanted to talk to all these different M&R customers or people that, you know, had stories to share and whatever. So that was great, but we were there a lot of the time. So I didn't really get a chance to walk the show until the last day. And I only had like an hour and a half to do it in. So it was kind of like, all right, this is who I want to talk to. I'm going to go do this. And then I'm going to kind of quickly browse other stuff. So like, I think having the intention of going and doing the interview style and all these different booths, you kind of could have got more of an experience than someone just aimlessly walking around. So,
oh, definitely. I mean, especially like us already having a bit of the social media presence, people wanted to talk to us as well, made it really easy. But like we got the chat with Clive, the CEO of AS Color, for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like we just like did a little bit of interviewing, but also just a little bit like personal talk. And it kind of broke the ice, where I was like, hey, can I interview you for this thing? And the first time we talked, we were recorded with him twice. Nina interviewed him and I interviewed him. And the second go around was way smoother. And he was just like opened up. We were talking about like more personal stuff. He told us like what his, like he was like, what's your star sign? And like, just like asked him kind of just like goofier questions. And it really opened him up. So it kind of made it more of like, it brought the networking to like kind of a different level. It didn't feel like it was just us talking and then we're never going to talk again. I was like, oh, we're actually building some like really good connections, and we can continue to, and I can transform our content moving forward too, where we're already talking with AS Color about making more videos and stuff. So just kind of like, I think you're right. Like it gives you more of a purpose. Like when you're going from booth to booth, you have like a more specific kind of set of questions, and you get a little bit more know-how. You get some behind the scenes. It's a little less of them trying to sell to you and scan your badge and like just talk to you about the products. It's more about like, why do you run the brand this way? What are your core values? What are you pushing for your content? Like you guys push really hard. I mean, that was what was fun about meeting with the street warehouse guys, like chatting with Alex, talking to him on and off camera, and just seeing what other people were doing as well and be like, is the interview style working for you? Is it not working for you?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about them though too is they have like specific places they want to go and see, and you know what helps elevate their shop and their brand and the things that they're into. And I feel like there's people that go there with that intention, and there's people that go there that are just like, I'm just going to look at everything, and kind of just get a little overwhelmed. But this year I felt was a little slower because of probably the way the economy was and people being flat, the fires and LA and all these other things. So I don't know. It seemed like more of a chill show this year. So I wanted to ask both of you, I guess, like what you saw at this show that kind of stood out, that was something you could take home and be, I guess, intrigued about.
Yeah. What do you think, Andy?
Well, I was sort of like Dylan, and I was busy, at M&R, just interviewing people. For me, it was more after hours and after the show. Just the random people that you meet. And so I guess I'll share one story. I was at, the bar, the Irish pub that's across from the convention center. I ended up there it's a fantastic place. I ended up there at like 1 a.m. or something or whatever. And at a table group of people. And then somebody sits down next to me and I don't know who it is. And we start talking. And I guess to break the ice, he was like, I asked him what he was drinking, and he said he was drinking a Minnesota martini. Yeah, you know what that is? You're going to love it.
I've heard of this.
Busch Light.
Close. So I think it's, it could be any beer really, but yeah, just they'll say Busch Light and olives. Yeah. Like in a glass.
It's disgusting.
I'm sure it's fantastic. I was tempted to order one. I didn't have one though.
I love that. That's your takeaway from.
Well, hold on.
ISS.
And so we start talking, and turns out this guy his name is Jared, and he just sold GSG, like the owner of GSG. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And so we talked about the whole thing, like the whole experience and everything. And
at
so,
1 o'clock in the morning, eat
1 in the morning
beer.
Yeah. And so
that's incredible.
Now we're friends, and like we took a picture together, and he's texting me. You know what I mean? So like, I think that's what is so great about.
You never know who you're going to run into.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know.
I think that's what's funny is it felt like everywhere you go, like you can't tell who just lives in Long Beach and who's actually there for the event. Like we were sitting at like that the dog house place. It's like not far from there. Do you guys go there? It's like everything's on like a Hawaiian
hot dog place.
Yeah, it's like it's maybe like a third of a mile from the event center. And there was like this person that I was like, for some reason I was like, this guy has to be a screen printer. And I like walked by, I was like, hey, how's it going? Just like talked to this random dude. And he's like, dude, what are you guys here for? I was like, oh, the screen printing convention. And it turned out he just lived there. Like he's
just a crusty dude off the street.
Yeah, he's got the tattoos, the nose piercing, like he's got didn't have the mustache, but he looked like the right fit. It's just a goofy. You don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know if they're screen printers, not screen printers, if they're in a band, like what the vibe is.
We did see some cool stuff in the M&R booth though. While we were there, we got to see the new Copperhead, and that had some features. You got to play around with that. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because you got more of a tour than I did.
I don't know a whole lot about it other than it does talk to you.
I know it's like very like Kit, like Knight Rider style.
Right. So,
light up a bar.
It'll say things like, if you break the cord, which in this case, it's not a cord, it was a bar, if you break the bar, it tells you that. And it also has videos. And so like, let's say you're trying to operate the machine and you're not sure what a button does or whatever. It has videos for everything, and a big screen, like a huge, like massive screen. So that was,
it looked pretty sweet. Yeah. It seemed like they got that whole thing like dialed in now for the US market. It just looked really impressive. I think that if you were to basically, you like that European style press, almost, like kind of like how the rocks are and how the Copperhead and global stuff is that would be an awesome press to get to just come into it. And that's kind of like how Brandon Threads is he had that, the Rival and their dryer and everything. And he was just like, yeah, these are fucking awesome. Like, I can't wait to get more and fill my shop with them. And it's just, that style of press is what he's going to run his shop with. So Jordan, what did you have
was decked out? It was,
Yeah, they
it
had a
was
lot of
sweet.
stuff.
They had a really, because like from last year, I think it was in like the same spot or like pretty similar, like size, space, stuff like that. But it felt like it was really easy to kind of walk through and actually see stuff. I felt like last year was a little too crammed. You couldn't actually like squeeze through to actually see the equipment moving. You didn't know where you could stand safely. Like you were like, am I like in the way of production? Like it was nice each day. I was like, oh, I can actually like scroll through, see things, see what's moving, see what they're actually printing, and watching like the digital squeegee go and stuff like that was pretty rad.
Hey,
Yeah.
how do you feel about pivoting from like a wrap up or finishing or wrap up and then go on to a couple topics?
Yeah.
Sure. You want to? I got more
so
stuff to wrap up.
You have more stuff. So how many minutes more do you have?
I don't know.
So I can time this like 10 more minute type thing.
I think 11 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, 11 minutes, 36 seconds.
Perfect. So it'll be 1:30. Okay. Just let me know. Give me a heads up when you're done when you're wrapped up,
Okay.
wrapping up, wrapped up the wrap up.
Wrapping it. Okay.
Yeah. And then I thought it'd be cool if I have a couple things and maybe it means something. Maybe I think it's meaningful. Yeah, it's meaningful.
Okay. All
I
right.
like that.
Cool.
All right.
So this year, one thing I wanted to talk about too is, like I said, like I've been to a million of these shows, and it's kind of like a little bit of going through the motions. You know, you go mostly to just hang out with people and see your friends that you only get to see once a year, all this kind of stuff. But for me, this year was like, and I've been talking about it a lot on the show, but it's getting into embroidery. So like,
Yeah.
this was the first year in a long time where I got to walk up to some equipment where I'm like, I know nothing about this. I'm actually here to like talk to a person, see it firsthand, and kind of ask all the questions and, you know, get interested in this product. So it was kind of cool to sit down with like Tajima and like look through the machines and kind of discuss the whole process. So it was pretty sweet to kind of do that. And it was exciting.
Tajima the only one you went to, or did you check out a few more?
Tajima was the only one I was really interested in. I mean, I've had talks with a ton of people, and it's kind of like basically go to Tajima or Baradin. And Tajima's kind of who I already talked to a little bit before I went. So it was nice to be like, all right, I'm going to go see these and ask them like, why get this one over this one? And, you know, what does this new machine do? And they have all this new stuff where they're like, oh, this one's new and improved and has this stuff. And I'm like, that's cool, because I didn't know what the old one had. So you could have just
I
told
have
me
no point
like,
of reference.
Yeah, I have no point of reference at all. But watching them start and stop and do the whole thing is awesome. And I did get to talk to a bunch of people too, who were like, oh, I heard you getting into embroidery.
Nice.
And they were all, you know, pumping me up on it. So it is nice. Like I said, you go to a show like that and you come back and you're like, oh, cool. Like I'm hyped to bring this into the shop or to add this new thing. So I don't know. For me, it was kind of cool. Like I haven't had that experience in a while.
They send really good like sales reps. Like all these brands have like really good people that are very personable, and they're not too like clawing at you to get you to like buy their thing. Like there were so many booths that I went to that they didn't even scan my thing. Like they just were like, we were just chatting for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, can I scan your thing? Like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Like they're not there to like necessarily land the sale day of. They like want to really show you the product and explain to you why, hey, here's why this might be better. But if this isn't like your thing, like, you know, there's 50 other options here at the show. Like the embroidery was really cool. I was looking at like, I forget which brand it was, but they had like a chenille machine that I was like, that would be really cool to be able to do like chenille patches and stuff like that. And then the Swift, also watching that thing run at like a million stitches a minute was wild. Like just,
What's
they
that?
hit start and it just goes. It was it's the brand. Which one is it? I'm going to screw it up. Is it SWF? ZWF?
SW. Yeah.
What is that?
You're asking the wrong dude. I just told you I don't know jack shit about embroidery, and you're like hitting me with embroidery questions.
Yeah, I just know it's called the Swift, but it's the one that Ryan sells now too. They've partnered with, and I was watching that thing. I mean, that thing runs up to like it's like 2,000 stitches a minute or something like that, which is like twice what the standard. Like ours runs at a tops 800 without just shredding thread. So it's crazy to watch that thing move. Just like you can't even see it moving. Like it's just like in the whole like bed is moving and it's accurate. It's not like sloppy at all, which is impressive for a piece of equipment. I didn't get the price point on it, but I know they're a little bit below. My understanding is they're a little bit below like the Tajima Baradin route. which is, I don't know, it's just cool watching that stuff run and actually operate and be like, wow, that'd be kind of just a fun thing to have. Like, imagine if you could stitch twice as fast and charge, a lot less for embroidery and really be competitive there with a piece of equipment like that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that whole system works for us. Did you
order one yet?
No, I mean, I'm in talks of pretty much the machine I want and everything. I just don't know. I'm testing the waters. It's a whole new world for me.
How many heads are you going with out of the gate, you think?
I think I'm going to get a 6 head. I think I'm going to try to get a 6 head and a single, and then go from there and see what happens. Nice. But for what we want to do, I think it'll work out really good. One other thing, like to piggyback off what you were saying though, is it seems like people are getting the hint that we just want to come and we want to talk, and we don't want to be sold to necessarily. Like, you're there as a resource and you're eager to answer any question, but you're not like scan, sell. Like, I don't want to be sold to like that anymore. And Christina made like a good point, because I was asking her about how she felt about the show and whatnot. And it was just kind of like, even all the apparel manufacturers seem to be very focused on specific new items, not necessarily like just sitting there being like, these are the shirts we have. You know what I mean? Like, Independent was very much like, oh, we have, new heavyweight shirts now. And it was like, oh, cool, you have tees. And then like Beefy Tee had like a whole setup of just like decorating Beefy Tees. And it was just kind of, Bella had too. Like, and Gildan to me is like the best one. When you first come down the stairs, it's like, okay, here's like the Gildan line of products, here's the American Apparel, and here's the Comfort Colors, and they all had totally different vibes. It wasn't like, oh, just here's 3 booths. It was like fully like Comfort Colors feels like you're in a cartoon almost, or in like a fantasy world where it's just all these pastel colors, and they got the
comic
wheel.
Booky,
and then American Apparel was like super streetwear, like bands and everything was dialed in. And then Gildan was over here more like, the corporate-y, like, this is what we can offer for, all your corporate and business kind of stuff. They all had totally different vibes. It was awesome to kind of walk in and see that whole thing. So it's nice that everyone looked dialed and specific on what they wanted to show off and talk about, rather than just sitting there and being like, please come over and talk to me because I have nothing else to do kind of vibe.
Yeah, the booths were a lot more open too. It felt like I felt like last year, like I only have one other year to like refer to, but last year it felt really crammed and cluttered. Like, it was hard to kind of like weave. I remember like lane 7 was like, just, you couldn't even like walk from one end to the other. There was too many people, too many sales reps, and too many like actual racks of clothing. Like, it was just kind of like claustrophobic. And this year it felt like it was more about the like personability of each brand, like you kind of said, where it's like you walking up to the AS Color booth, kind of what the vibe is. You walk up to the Comfort Colors, what the vibe is, what clientele they're reaching out to. So I think people kind of like went more for like the loungy, like, hey, let's just hang out, we're friends, like type of thing, but like from a genuine standpoint, and not just this like fabricated corporate level, like, we're your best buddy, and then it turns into a high pressure sales 30 seconds into the conversation.
Yeah, it feels more organic, and it was nice. I think all in all, the show, just from what I got to experience of that, it just felt very chill and nice, and kind of not pressure, and it was nice. So
are you?
I don't know. That's my main takeaway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are you inspired? Like, when you go to the show, doesn't it feel just so good that you see all this stuff, and you see everybody getting excited about equipment or whatever it is, t-shirts, supplies, and you just feel when you get back to your shop, I don't know, you're just more inspired. That too. Yeah. I might have mentioned, that before, but.
Yeah, it was like the same vibe from like Print Hustlers was so personal. So it like was really easy to like take away very specific notes that like, I'm going to implement this day one. This one's more of like almost like a reset. Like, you go, like you said, chat with your friends you only see once a year, really like have some drinks, have some food, have some laughs, just dick around. Like, we went to the Queen Mary boat as like a group. It was like us, DLH, and like the Relentless crew. And we were just hooligan around. Like, we were like, Nathan was clapping down the staircase and we were like yelling and playing the Titanic music, and it was just like very disruptive. But it's like, you don't get that, like, you don't have people around you often. Like, you guys get the treat of like talking with screen printers pretty frequently, but not all the other shops kind of get that. You don't get to hop on a phone call. Yeah, it's like you forget all of a sudden. You're like, I haven't talked to anyone from the industry that's just as passionate I am about any of the problems that I'm experiencing, or any of the wins. Like, you have like these wins that you like want to share with people, and you have to like explain why it's a victory. It's like with other screen printers, you just call them and you're like, dude, I just saved, like Nathan called me and was like, dude, we got rid of tape. Like, we got oversized screens and we're saving like $3,000 a month on tape now. And I was like, that's fucking sick. And like explain that to someone else, they're like, I don't get it. Like, I don't know why that matters. But when you're in the industry, you get to have those wins together. And when especially we were in a house with 4 print shops in it, we were just all bullshitting the whole time, talking about problem customers, good processes, things that we've been trying to implement but haven't yet. Like, you get all these notes and details. You get to go away with all of these kind of like just really good ideas. Like, you're like, oh, I'm going to implement what Opaque was telling me about. I'm going to implement what the random guy that I bumped into mentioned. He was like, hey, you should try this. It's like, it's not just about the booths. It's also the connections that you don't get day to day, because we're not just surrounded by screen printers at our shop in person grabbing dinner.
Very well put. That's perfectly said. I agree, 1,000%.
Thank you. I'm actually reading my notes. I wrote that down before.
No, it just is. I mean, it's so true, isn't it? I mean, it's not just about the booth. It's not just about the new equipment. I don't even know if that's half of it. It's about so much more. So, yeah.
It was so funny. I don't know if you guys saw it was on the Rogue Printers Facebook group. There was a couple people, like, it got a lot of likes, but I commented because people were just complaining. They were like, too much DTF, too many DTF printers. I'm not going to go next year, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, if all you're going to do is look at equipment, like, first off, I doubt you're actually going to buy equipment every year, and you're not comparing new prices. Maybe you are. I don't know. But everybody who's complaining about DTF there, I'm like, there was so much more than just DTF printers. There were a lot of DTF printers, but whatever, there was so much else, and there's so many people there that the DTF's like not even close to the focus. And if that's all you're getting out of it, then maybe you shouldn't go next year. That's kind of a bummer.
To be completely honest, the show is an excuse.
Yeah,
like, it's not like
100%.
Yeah, I'm glad the vendor's there, and I'm glad I get to walk around and see what I want to see. But like, the show is 100% an excuse to go get all these people in the same room. And exactly what you said, like, you go to an Airbnb or a hotel or whatever. We had that mega Airbnb, like one of the earlier years that I went to Long Beach, where we had fucking 24 print shops in one house. Staying in one house, and we were sleeping like in the driveway and on the floor and like everything else, and that alone was worth the trip. Like, who gave a fuck about the show? The show was seeing all your friends, and then everybody you talk to, you're like, oh, I have this issue, and they're like, oh, I solved this issue. And it's just, that's what it's about. It's not about what's at the fucking show, like,
no,
at all.
Honestly, I could get that showroom could be empty as long as everyone was just as hyped up.
Right.
And
as long as we all signed up to be there for an empty room, that's all that matters.
We could be there playing dodgeball. We could be there playing cards on the floor. Like, I'm just like, that's just the group. I remember coming back from Print Hustlers, dude, the week after Print Hustlers, I was like depressed. I was like, I got so like in my head. I was like, God, that was like, I rode this high where it was just interacting with all these people that I don't get to see. And it was so like fresh and new. This year, like for this event, I was like planned that. I was like, I'm going to be a little bit lower the week after we leave, which has helped already. Like, I got back, I'm like, okay, just focus on, walking the dog, doing the things that keep me feeling happy, healthy. But it is like, it's this like intense high where you just don't get to interact with these people. And it's really cool to see everyone and do whatever we're going to do and meet new people. And it's just, yeah, it's incredible. I don't care about the booths at all. It's great to see, great conversation starter, but not at all why I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that wraps up the show. I think that's pretty much what the entirety of everything was.
That was the recap.
Yeah. So Andy, you had some topics?
I have a topic, and then maybe it'll get us into something else. But I heard this saying a while ago, and then I just reheard it, if that's even a word. Heard it again, and I liked it, and I wanted to talk about it today. So here it goes. It goes like this: fish where the fish swim, not where all the fishermen are huddled up. And so I wanted to get your take on that.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit on like what that meant to you and why you saved it?
I'm going first.
Yeah. I want to elaborate off of your take.
I want Jordan to go first.
Okay.
I want to hear I just like raw, like you there it is.
Yeah.
What do you think it means?
I'm picturing, so fish where the fish swim, not where the fishermen gather.
Yeah.
It makes me think, like, I'm thinking of it exclusively from like a branding, marketing, content perspective. Like that's where I go immediately, where it's like don't copy or don't even follow the trends. Like, oh man, it's tricky. Like, don't follow the trends. Don't be doing what everybody else is doing. Try to do your own thing. But I think the bigger part is finding your niche and finding out where that niche exists. Do they exist on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube? Do they exist only in person? Do they exist at conventions? Do they exist phone cold emailing? Like where do they exist? So if we're thinking about from a sales perspective, it's find where those fish live, and that's where you go. That's where you catch the fish. That's what I'm thinking on. And it's like, and that's where like our content has kind of been an interesting, it's like pivoted, because originally our content we were trying to make content for just who we were selling to. Like we were trying to get it to the coffee shops and the restaurants and stuff like that, which is kind of, it's just tricky to do. And you kind of have to pick one. And we were really bad at picking one. And we realized once we made content for screen printers, it still hits those other niches. But when it's just like behind the scenes content that benefits the screen printer more than you, it's made it so that, or benefits the other screen printers more than it benefits your kind of ideal customer to sell to.
Yeah.
Your ideal customer sees that as, oh, they must be an expert. And they also see it as, this person's got this portfolio of all these like incredible videos, all these different prints, all these different whatevers. They don't really care if we were printing for coffee shops or restaurants or contractors or big corporate jobs. It's like, they're just like, oh, this is like cool energy. I want to be a part of it type of a thing.
I feel like you can go down the rabbit hole of that though, which is kind of what happened to me. Is I've been doing social media for forever, and it started off of content of what we were doing, what we were making, trying to show it off to get more customers in that vein, which is great. But then more and more I got involved with industry stuff, it turned into, like you said, like I was making videos that I was more gearing towards other printers to show what we were doing or what we were capable of or whatever. And then it got to a point where I was just like, I'm talking more daily to other printers than I'm talking to customers, which got to be a negative for a while, because it was like, what am I spending all this time during the day, making these videos, doing all these things just to talk to other screen print shops? Like, that's cool and that's fun, but that's not making my business any money. Yeah, you do get to be like, oh, you know what you're talking about in this space. And you do get clients who look at your stuff and are like, oh, he knows what he's talking about. But also it's kind of like, you get so wrapped up in it where you're like, cool, I look through my followers and over half of them are other print shops. It's like, I would rather they be comic book shops or artists or people who want to buy shirts. So I don't know. I feel like it can go either way. Like you're saying, you're getting stuff from it now. So if I keep doing it, plus the algorithm with all that stuff changes so fucking frequently that like, I don't even know what's up or down anymore. And I think, I think my take with what Andy was saying with like, and kind of building off of your marketing thing is, and what I just said is kind of like, I want to steer more into going where the fish are rather than where the fishermen are, because I feel like the fishermen for me right now is just everybody and their brother doing social media. And it's like, I'm more now in the camp of, I want to find fucking trade shows that have nothing to do with my industry. Of like, okay, like here's a contractor, custom, like builder trade show. Go with a backpack and fucking, a smile on my face and walk the trade show, or sit down at a bar and find out it's the owner of Ace Hardware or some shit, and he's drinking, what was it, a Minnesota martini or whatever the fuck you called it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to have that. I want to have that because that's going to the fucking hatchery instead of like, being out in the middle of where all these fishermen are. Like, well, I'm more trying to get in faces of the actual humans that I'm selling to instead of just sitting here. Because you got to think, if you were I don't know, say you're an eager marketing person or a buyer for some company and you're like, hashtag screen printing. Like, I'm going to find a screen printer this way. It's like there's a sea of screen printers trying to market all to you. And it's like, why would you pick a certain one? They're all saying the same shit, like high quality, fast turnaround, fucking, you know, we print for the best and we have the best attitudes and whatever. And it's like, I would rather go have a Minnesota martini with a dude at a bar, and just be like, oh yeah, you need like thousands of shirts for your employees. Cool. Well, I can actually help you if you want, like not trying to be salesy, but like I'm available and I could sit down and talk with you about all this stuff right now. And they're like, all right, fuck yeah, sweet. And then now you print for that company. Like that's way easier than making reels where I have to dance or like have fast cuts or like,
I need Dylan dancing reels right now.
Dude, no, like I tried to play that game for a little while. Yeah. Like, and even with that, I'm trying now, like I have content stuff I want to do, but it's more based on the customer. Like I want to show the difference between different apparel types or printing techniques or whatever. Like, and I'm almost cringy and like, I'm stopping myself from doing them because I'm looking at like, oh, other printers are going to see this and they're going to judge my description of what it is I'm trying to say, but like I don't fucking care. Like I have to stop thinking that way because it's for the customer. I'm trying to get people to buy shirts. Like that's the end of it. Like I'm trying to get the clients I want.
The trade show thing's interesting. So my friend Matt came with us to the trade show too this past week, and he's a freight broker, and this was like easily the most beneficial trade show he's ever gone to. Because as we know, screen printers are pretty chill, easy to talk to, and always down to save money and simplify processes. It was like, he had a notebook just full of like conversations he had with people. He's like, well, I can help you with freight. Let me give you a quote right now.
Right.
And like,
that's
just
exactly what I'm talking
money.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's it. Like and then if you were to go do the same thing, like, you know, you go to a trade show that's all about construction hardware.
It could be anything. It could be like medical supplies or some shit. And it's like, you're going to go meet all these people that are higher up. Because the kind of people that go to trade shows are the kind of people that are very invested in their industry and want to learn or want to bring something back and have a say. It's not the people who are fucking hate their jobs and don't care about what they're doing. So it's like all the doers are in one spot.
Well, my favorite thing, part of the reason why we do screen printer content, if you will, is one, I want to we're doing branded posts and stuff like that. We're getting paid to make certain posts with collaborative stuff, as well as like with PMI tape. Like we've got PMI samples in our bio, as well as we just got Days Printing tape that has our logo on it. So people can go there and buy that as well. So we've been able to have like,
and just so you know, I'm not knocking that in any way. Because I'm saying I'm doing the same thing. Yeah. I'm just saying that like, I got so wrapped up in it where I'm like, dude, like what am I doing?
I sell way better in person and over the phone and even via email than I do trying to make social media posts that are specifically for whichever niche I'm trying to target. So for this, I know I can make screen printer content and I can make it well and I can enjoy it. If I want to go get a local coffee shop, then I'm just going to go in there every day until I can find the owner and find the CEO or whatever, however big the company is. And I'm going to lock in that job. And I know I can do that in person 10 times better and way more efficiently than I can with Instagram content. And I don't think with the stuff that we're selling, I'm only one reel. Someone's not going to see your one reel and be like, yep, I'm going to order 1,000 shirts from them today. Like it's pretty hard. It's a tough conversion. They need to see your content time and time and time again. And that's why we go with, you know, my face, this little scoop guy, like all our little like microphone stuff is like, you recognize it as you're watching the videos and things like that. So even if you're not a screen printer and you are a local business owner or just a business owner somewhere, you see that content time and time again. You're like, that's kind of a cool print shop. Like,
I agree. I mean, the content that you've made is what made me notice you. Like the first time I ever met you, I'm like, yeah, I know you from this. Yeah. And it's like, you know, the kind of content and the way you talk and the way you carry yourself and the way you are proud of what you're doing made me be like, I want to be friends with this guy.
Thank you.
So I'm just saying that like you're doing it right and you're doing it very well. Like you stand out in that crowd almost to kind of the point of what Andy's saying is like you're pulling yourself out more where the fish are than just doing the generic shit that every other person's doing. So
yeah, you can copy and paste and get a little bit of, I mean, I think anybody should be posting on social media. I don't think everybody needs to be putting a ton of effort into it. If you just want to copy other videos or share other videos or something like that, I think it's still worth it to put some energy into it. But yeah, I mean, that's always been important to us, is like genuine content, good energy, and just like me being honest. That's why we post videos where I like make mistakes and stuff, where it's just like, there's no point in pretending like everything's perfect. Like you gotta show the dirt, show the good. And it's just, and it's fun. A lot of the times I'm like, I'm like, I just want to do something cool. Like, give me an excuse to do stuff.
So what was your take, Andy?
Yeah, so far I haven't said anything because what you both said was very accurate. And I knew you would get there without me, because I've thought about it a little bit more, even though I just recently was thinking about it again. And I think that I think what's most important, the takeaway from this is that, yes, I think Instagram is important. It used to be way more important, social media in general anyway, back when algorithms were favorable to like people that were following you and everything, and people actually saw your content. But and I think it's still important because people do look it up and see, you know, who are these guys? I want to find out more about them. And then it's almost like a portfolio, like you mentioned, and they're experts and they know what they're talking about. But I think it's really shifted over the past couple of years. And, you know, that's still where most people are doing their marketing. And that's where most of the fishermen are at. Because they see everyone else doing that. It's like, oh, well, I need to get on social media in order to grow my sales. And I think that's the wrong answer now. I think that, yes, you do need to be on social media, but it's at a very basic level. And then you need to go where the fish are. Just like, and Dylan, I didn't even think of that. And you brought it up. And you're like, hey, I'm going to go to a trade show that's not in my industry. And just like you, and then Jordan talked about the guy who's in freight and he came to our trade show. And now all of a sudden he has all these leads. And I think that's important because, yeah, we as screen printers are fish in this analogy, you know, and because we do need freight services. And so all of a sudden that guy's there and his competitors aren't. He's the one that said, hey, I'm going to think out of the box and show up at this trade show.
He found one other guy. There was one other freight broker that he bumped into from a competitor.
They both have the same outfit on. It's like the Spider-Man thing where they're pointing at each other.
It was good.
So I think that's brilliant. And I think that we all want to know this. The common question, I met with somebody on one of the days for an hour because I may work with them. And everyone wants to know how to grow their business. Like, how do we do that? Because it's complicated. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I like that saying. And I think that whenever you're thinking about how you're going to grow your business, you need to think about that first. Be different.
And I think with the social media, I think if you're going to push on social media, you have to have an idea on how you're going to monetize it, or it has to be exclusively your marketing tactic, and you have to do it a little bit differently, kind of like what you were saying, where it's just like it needs to be unique, it needs to be something different, it needs to be recognizable, and it needs to be attached to you and genuine. So if social media is that for you, awesome. Keep pushing it. Do it. If it's working, keep doing it. Although I think, especially in screen printing, our best luck has always been face-to-face sales. I think if you are an owner and you are,
with a face like that, like
with this mustache, who says no?
How can you not?
I mean,
exactly.
But for us, like
that also sounds like a creepy murderer thing to say. With a face like this and the mustache like this, they never say no.
High pressure force,
especially
sales.
With this chloroform rag in my pocket.
I say no now. We have to cut all of that. We we've always found like the best success. We find the best clients and the most consistent clients by following up in person, by talking in person. And like I've talked about before, it's like coffee shops are our biggest thing because I worked in coffee for 6 years. So I can go speak the language.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
It's like they feel like they're taken care of. Like if I'm doing a design, they know that it's going to like make sense. Even like the art makes sense. It's like, imagine if I was designing for an industry that I know nothing about, and I'm just like trying to draw a picture of what I think their equipment or what I think their space might look like, or whatever it is.
They can sniff it out first thing that you're not in their click.
Or they're like, that's just AI generated. There's no way you did that.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, for us too, I've found there was this big push I saw for a while, especially from like YouTubers in the screen print world that were like, don't give away stuff for free. They're like, don't work for free. Don't do this. Don't do that. And I'm like, honestly, our biggest, highest paying customers are ones that I pitched designs or even printed a small run of shirts for free and dropped off at their shop. And I was like, you don't have to pay me for this. You let me know what you think of it. I mean, every single one of our top customers, that's how I landed them. And maybe I could have charged $300 for that first design, but that doesn't make a difference when they've spent, you know, $50,000 to $100,000 with you in 12 months. Like it doesn't matter. Yeah. So I think doing stuff for free, I mean, social media is a form of like free giving as well. I mean, in our video we did with Street Warehouse, I mean, that was the big thing where it's like, give as much as you can and you're going to receive so much more. So I don't think, try not to be stingy, push in sales. If you've got an artwork team or you're a designer, like, pitch some designs to people. Like that's how you make sales, because you build trust. They think that it builds respect. It builds, and if you're a good designer, I mean, they're going to be stoked on it. Like, and they might have some tweaks or something like that, but it's like, it's worth your time for sure to do those cold pitches like that.
The funny thing is I kind of ran into this today where exactly what you're talking about. Like I know certain markets. I had a meeting with a designer, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, where called him, we started shooting the shit, just talking. You kind of go through that like awkward beginning where you're like, oh, talk about the weather. And then you talk about, where he lives and what kind of clients he has. And then basically once we started listing clients that both of us had, that he basically started talking about Lord of the Rings. And I was just like, all right, cool. My pants are off. Like, keep going. Like, what are we talking about now? Take me home. And then we talked about that, and we talked about like all this other shit that both of us were into. And I was like, oh, I have a tattoo of that. And he's like, oh, do you like heavy metal? Like not the music, but like the movie. And it's one of my favorite movies. Like my entire sleeve is from the movie Heavy Metal. Like, and then we got talking about that, and it was like, oh, it's fucking rules. And then it was like, you know, that Step Brothers thing where it's like, oh, did we just become best friends? And then because you don't have to, you're not selling at that point. You're just having a conversation where you're like, oh, I can help you and you can help me. And that's what it turned into. And then today, literally, I had a couple people on my list that were, I say people, but they're like large companies that I wanted to reach out to. And 2 of them are hospitals. And I was like typing out this email to them to be like, oh, we would like to work with you, whatever. And I struggled so hard to come up with an email to a hospital because I don't know jack shit. Like I don't even wear the clothes that people that work at a hospital wear. Like I don't
even go to the hospital.
Right. Like I want the hospital work. Like don't get me wrong. Like I want the, you know, all the fundraiser shirts and all this other stuff because I want the business. But like I honestly don't know jack shit about what it is that they want other than them giving me a design and me printing the shirts. Like so it's so much easier to go for like the shit that you know about.
I was going to say, have Chat GPT write you the email to the hospital. Say, I'm a screen printer trying to sell to the hospital. Write me
give me some jargon.
And I bet you it comes up with
friend.
Like,
right. I've watched all the seasons of House. I should have just used my knowledge from that. And I'm like, well, you know, plasmapheresis and start just saying random like things. Be like, you know, I know about hospitals.
I've watched House. I know.
It's like the Steve Buscemi with like the skateboard over his shoulder, and he's like, you know, like I'm hip with you guys or whatever. And it's like that's how that makes me feel. Yeah. I don't like it.
Andy, where are your fish? Where do you see the fish?
Uh-oh. Well, I can't say because then everybody's going to go huddle up over there.
Andy doesn't see the fish anymore. He's on a yacht looking out into the sunset.
Gave up the fish long ago.
I wish. So I do have some over-unders though we can talk about.
Yeah.
Three of them today. The first one is Uber.
Super underrated.
Huh. Okay.
I love Uber.
That's an interesting take. I think it's just overpriced. That's my take.
It is overpriced, but it's worth it.
I would say for like safety reasons and like the accessibility, I think it is underrated. Where it's like I still know people that drive home with a few too many drinks in their system, and I'm like, dude, you should have Ubered. That's just goofy.
I don't drink, but like the difference between renting a car, like going to an airport. So this is a perfect example. Me and Christina went to Palm Springs. We stood in line at the Enterprise rent-a-car thing for like an hour trying to get our car, and we had already pre-done everything online. Like literally all we had to do was get the keys, and we asked them, we're like, do we have to wait in this line to like get our stuff? And they're like, yeah, like check in. So we stood in that line, waited for the whole thing, got our keys, got the car, drove, had to pay for parking, you know, you had to do the whole thing, and then you have to go drop it back off and fill it with gas and all this other stuff. Like every other trip I've taken in the last couple of years, it's like, nope, land at the airport, get in an Uber, go directly to your hotel, get out of the Uber. That's it. No car, no fucking around, no nothing. Like, yeah, sometimes they're expensive, but I could go literally anywhere. I can walk out of my hotel and be like, take me here. Car shows up, drives me, drops me off. Anytime
Especially
at
in Long
night,
Beach, like
whatever.
you can get around. Like,
it's amazing.
You can be close. Like we drove, so we got to have like, we're probably going to drive every year because it's nice having a car there that we don't have to wait in line for. Yeah, I don't know. I guess Uber could be underrated. What about versus Lyft? So you're Uber, not Lyft, for sure.
Yeah, no, I've never used Lyft.
I've never
just
used
Uber
Lyft
all day
either.
long.
I'm not that I don't have anything against it, but I just don't even think about it. I just used Uber.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why.
Lyft worked better in Portland, at least for us. Like Uber was a nightmare trying to use it in Portland. Lyft, I was like, oh, we can get picked up in 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, I like it a lot. I have no issues. Like I said, I left Saturday morning to go to LAX from Long Beach, and I scheduled an Uber for 3 a.m. And like it
That's
just
smart,
showed up
too.
at my door when
Being
I
able to
was
schedule it makes
Have
sense.
you ever gotten into an Uber and then the guy's like, hey, cancel your ride right now and I'll drive you there for 100? You know, anything like that ever happened to you?
I had that in a taxi
It feels
in
creepy.
Atlantic City. I got in the car and was like, take me to the convention center. And he like didn't start the thing. He's like, all right, instead of that, I'm going to drive up to the 7-Eleven. Can you get out and give me 2 packs of Newports? And then that'll be the fare.
Honestly,
And
ideal.
I said,
that.
yeah, sure. Like, what else am I going to fucking do? Like, I'm gonna be like, it was just so sketchy.
I'm not waiting for another taxi.
Like
so.
he didn't want to do the fare. He just wanted cigarettes.
I'll take
And it
2
was
packs
like,
of Newports and a Minnesota martini.
Yeah, like
Then you're like, all right, deal. I don't know. I think that
awesome.
I didn't, that time I didn't cancel it because I thought to myself, wait, it's a little sketchy because then they don't know I'm in the car with them and we're going somewhere. And then I'm in, you know, like all of a sudden chloroform and the rest. Right. And so I don't know. I didn't do it, but I think it was because they, maybe at the time Uber wasn't sharing the revenue fairly. I think they renegotiated some of that contract or something, but maybe they weren't.
did you ever get in the
I don't know.
wrong car?
No. I always
I've had people
look at the
try to
plate.
get into my car.
I got in the wrong car. I can't remember who I was with. I feel like
Was it an Uber? Or was it just
it
somebody
was
else's
it was
car?
like an Uber Black or something at the airport, and most of them are like, you know, a Denali or something or whatever.
Tahoe, yeah.
And it pulled up, and the guy just looked at me, and I was like, yeah, and I got in, and the guy was like Russian or something, and he drove out of the airport and started circling around, and he was getting notifications on his thing that like, what the fuck, you just left me, basically, like messages from the person whose Uber it was. And he was so pissed. Like he gunned it and was like ripping around corners to get back and basically slammed on the brakes and was like, get out. And then like the new person got in, and I was just like, sorry. And then there was another like fucking Yukon, like 2 cars down, that was actually mine. And I was like, I
mean, you guys could have just
sorry.
switched.
Yeah, like whatever.
It's like an easy, just charge my card, whatever. Like
Yeah,
and
no.
the other one.
It was just like so. Like, he was so frustrated.
I always look
I
at
had
the
someone
plate.
It's understandable.
I had someone trying to get into my car thinking I was like dropping off a friend, and he like kept trying to open the door, and I was like, hey dude, we're not an Uber. And he like was just like yanking the door. My friend inside is like fighting this guy. And like he like opens the door. I'm like, bro, this is not your freaking Uber. Like, I'm not an Uber. I'm not an Uber. Like, this is an old ass Subaru Forester. Like, we're not here to pick you up, my guy. And he was just plastered. He didn't know what was going on.
This is going to go off the rails for a second, but I did way before Uber when I lived in Atlanta. I lived in an apartment building, and Brian and Chris like drove from New York and like did a road trip to Atlanta to see me. And it was their first day there, like literally just pulled in, and I had my car and I was going to take them downtown. We were going to go do something. And this guy from across the parking lot was like, hey man. And then I ignored him, and then he got closer and he's like, "Hey man." And Brian and Chris are like, "I think this guy's yelling at you." And he comes over, he's like, "Hey, can I get a ride like just down the road to this thing?" And I'm like, fuck, like this guy knows where I live. I'm staying outside my apartment. I was like, fine, sure. He got in the front seat and he took us on a drug run. Like he was literally like, go down this road and take a right. And I was like, okay. And then when we got to that road, took a right. He was like, no, a little bit further up this road, take a left. And he just like kept taking us basically to his drug place, like his delivery. And he's like, all right, pull up to this shack. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to run in and then I'm going to come back. And then I need you to take me to this place or whatever. Yeah, but he fucking knew where I lived. Like he was right outside my apartment.
I guess you got to play the game now.
So and when he was in the car, he was chatting with us and he had that like drug thumbnail, that like super long thumbnail.
Oh yeah. Well,
and he was like snapping it and he was like, yeah, I just got out of prison, like 2 weeks ago. And, I'm trying to get my, back on my feet or whatever. But he literally took us like on his drug run and we dropped him off. And again, Brian's in the back seat, like getting ready to choke this guy out. And we're just waiting. And then he's like, all right, take me up this road like a mile. And there's a hotel on the right. Like, just drop me off there. And I don't know what to do. Like, I'm like nervous and I'm driving. And we get up near, like, I'm coming up the hill near the hotel. And he's like, just pull down in and like take me to the entrance. And I tried to crack a joke. And I was like, nah, dude, tuck and roll. Like I was saying, I was just going to like pull up to the street and he was going to tuck and roll and didn't crack a smile, nothing. He looked at me like, I will fucking stab you in the throat right now. So yeah, that was
late in the interaction.
I was an early Uber driver for drug people. So I'm going to say Uber now.
I went on to create Uber. Actually.
Very underrated. Yeah.
I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Did that answer your question, Andy?
Yeah, I can't remember how we got here, but it's good. It's good stuff.
Okay.
Next, we have Miller High Life, specifically High Life, the champagne of beers.
I also don't really drink, so I'm going to say it's...
Oh, I forgot.
I'm going to say it's underrated just for the fans.
No, the funny thing that you said about Miller High Life is it warms my heart. And again, I don't drink at all, but my grandfather, his whole life drank, I don't know, I guess they're called shorties. The Miller High Life in the glass. They're like the real small ones. And my entire life, that's all he drank. And he always had them in his fridge, but he put salt in them. Like you opened the cap, in it? Poured a bunch of salt in it, and then like chugged it.
Okay.
So I don't know anything about it. I just know Miller High Life. That just reminds me of my grandfather.
At that point, like be a little balanced. So this is your grandpa. So your grandpa puts salt in his beer. Your grandma puts butter on peanut butter sandwiches.
Dude,
you had a hell of a childhood.
Hell yeah, rough and tumble.
Like I don't know how to consume anything.
That's what they call an upstate martini or an upstate martini, maybe.
Upstate martini, yeah, Miller High Life and salt.
Okay. Last, we have emojis.
That was the one you added earlier when you were like, I got it.
I got it. Yeah, I have to put emojis down.
He asked me, he's like, do you have a third over or under? And I was like looking, I was like, oh yeah. He's like, nope, never mind, got one. And
locked in.
This was it.
I'm gonna say, I think they're underrated as well as underutilized. Especially, I would say more so for like internal processes. Like, it's really nice when it has like when you're like looking through like stages of like a pipeline on like Printavo or like we use Google Streak. I've started adding like a couple little emojis here and there, and it's kind of nice to just glance and you're like, I know exactly what that is. Like. I think it's pretty useful. It feels a little AI generated at this point because ChatGPT goes crazy with the emojis, but I think I would say underrated.
Andy, why do you like emojis so much?
I do not. I think they're overrated and I can't stand them.
Oh, okay. That sounds like
every email with so many emojis.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden I just fucked myself. No, I would say.
Go ahead. I was gonna say I'm the K guy. Like I'm the guy when you text and say something, I just do the letter K,
with
and that apparently infuriates people that you just say K instead of okay or all right and give an explanation. The reason why I like emojis is because now I can just hold whatever you said and give a thumbs up. and that's better than
Don't
a
even
K,
have to text
apparently.
anything.
Yeah, now I don't have to say anything. I can just be like, cool.
Yeah,
I'm
I
that
don't
dad
know.
when you say like, I did this, be proud of me, and he like gives it's just the thumbs up.
I hate the thumbs up more than probably any emoji. I would say that I used to use them, and then I realized I was like one day like, what am I doing here? Like, what am I doing? And
Get this off my keyboard right now.
Yeah, like
I can't win.
and so I went to the old school, like old OG colon
Typewriter.
parenthesis, smile for the smile. And, or if I want to wink, I'll do the semicolon smile. If I want to be like, if I'm upset with something or whatever, you do the colon.
You should just send people a picture of like a piece of paper of a loose leaf that you've done cursive on and written everything out. That's like the most anti-text
That's true.
emoji ever.
No, so I don't mean to like disagree so hard with you, Jordan, but I was just like, I think here's what it is. I think that we're over emojied as U.S. citizens here with our iPhones, and we need to chill out a little bit. I think that certain ones, you're right. It's like the perfect emoji, and you're like, oh, that works for this. I don't have to say a sentence here that conveys my emotion and my feeling, and now we get it. We get each other. But I'm going back to like actually writing down words and telling people my feelings. And so
Using words and things.
Yeah, I'm using words.
I think there's like a choice time to use it. Like I think there was a time where it was like too much like hieroglyphics, like people were using it to replace every word in the text message as possible. Because it does that. Like when you open up the emojis thing, it like makes all the words yellow that you could swap with whatever emoji they think you could swap it with. And now your message is illegible. So I think there's a choice time. I think the places that it could be utilized, it doesn't get utilized enough. And the places that it probably shouldn't be utilized is getting utilized too much. I think people have gotten better, but I hear where you're at.
This is extra going to boil Andy's blood, but it's like conversations with just using memes on Instagram or reels that people like to share. See, like me and Jared from AKT, that's our relationship, is we just share every single day memes back and forth. But then the thing is you use emojis on every single one to convey how you felt about that meme or emoji, not a sentence. Like if someone sends you a shark video, that you show like a blood drop or a shark, and you just they all have to go together. So this again is just, and like he's backing up. He's just so over that
Fuming
conversation.
He's that angry emoji, just the little like pent up red face.
Maybe it ties back into where all the fishermen are huddled up. Maybe just too many people are using emojis. I couldn't do it anymore, and
I get that.
The pendulum is swinging back the other way.
I'm gonna go home and watch the Emoji Movie with my kids.
Is that real? Is that a movie? See, there you go. Prove my point.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, thank you for hopping on with us, giving a quick recap, and then getting into the deep stuff. Love talking to you, and I'm excited to see you at the next trade show.
Yeah, are you guys going to Atlantic City?
Probably. That's my local one where I will drive to, and I just, again, like I don't go to Atlantic City for the show. I go there for the crusty streets and the dirt and the grime.
Yeah, my friend Matt, the freight broker, he's like, if I land even half these leads that we got at this show, I'll fly you out to Atlantic City and we'll go again. So see how that goes. Maybe we'll be there too.
It's a good time. All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks,
Great chatting with you. See you guys.
See you, dude.